Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode of Cupcake Media. I'm your host, Master Shake, and we're gonna dive into something a little bit different today. It might be a short podcast because not every podcast needs to be long, like 3 hours like Joe Rogan, and not every podcast always needs to be quite short. But today we're gonna give you something a little different. We're talking about friendships because there has been a phenomenon that I have personally noticed out here in the United States, especially in California. Doesn't matter if you're in the Bay Area or down in SoCal. There's a bit of a cultural phenomenon which goes against the very centric core of what it means to be a human being. And it has to do with friendships. Through all my travels and now my life experience, because I've reached a point in my life where one has experience and you can be a believable person with your experiences, I can say that friendships here do not have the core strength and core values of those that I've seen elsewhere, especially in other countries. I think friendships in California are, for the most part, very fake, unfortunately. And I think a lot of people are only friends with you because you kind of fill in a void, but you don't fill in the substance of that friendship. You might fill in a necessity that they're trying to achieve or emulate, but there's no reciprocity returned back, unfortunately. So it feels very business transaction-like without the honor of doing the business. Because in business, if you fuck somebody over, no one will do business with you ever again. It'll eventually catch up to you. And I was having this talk with my wife the other day about how lately in my life I feel, for me personally, right, this is something very personal, I feel that just about everyone that I've come across in the last few years, if I'm not the one constantly reaching out to them to say, hi, how are you? How's your day going? What have you been up to? How's your boyfriend? How's your girlfriend? How's your husband, wife? They would never reach out to me. I mean, I could move and they wouldn't find out for at least 5-10 years. And my wife made a good point. She had said, you may have to live with the fact that you are the initiator in these relationships. And I quickly questioned her and I said, well, isn't it kind of odd that I'm always the initiator? Because it just doesn't make sense. And she had responded, well, look, she's like, you have to look at yourself as being the initiator, that you're kind of the person that holds the foundation together and you have to be okay with it, which she's right. And we've talked about things like this before, about the social dynamics and how they change greatly in California. They can be changing in other places as well. It's just, I think in other parts of the country, the foundation is a lot stronger than it is out here. But I told her, I said, when you think of a friendship or any relationship, there has to be, it's a two-way road. It takes two to tango, baby. There has to be reciprocity. It's like as if, you're in a relationship, in a sexual relationship, and one person is constantly asking for sex and the other person never asks for it. Your relationship will not be very strong. There's gonna have to be a mutual like there for both of you wanting to pound each other's brains out, for example, And you carry that analogous philosophy to all types of relationships. And when it comes to friendships, I told her there has to be reciprocity, because if an individual is constantly the initiator and no one checks up on that person, then that's not really a friendship. That's a one-sided friendship by definition. And she couldn't really disagree with that, and she agreed with it. And what went on to that afterwards was, and this may pertain to some of you, which is, she said, you just may have to accept the fact that maybe these people are not good friends in your life and even in our lives. And that is something for us to discuss here, which is, if you have friendships with people and you're always the one doing the initiating, you're always the one doing the talking, the checking up, let's make plans, and they fail to do it, you got to ask yourself, are they really a good friend? And you have to figure out for yourself what your principles are for a good friend, what your value system is. For me, it's pretty simple. It's when you say you want to make plans, you follow through with them. You don't let it slide and then completely neglect it and then follow up 6 months later. No, you want to keep it kind of persistent, and up to date, right? So if this weekend didn't work out, try to make plans within the next 2 to 3 weeks. I think that's fair because we all get busy, but not 6 months from now. Do they reciprocate? Do they call you and check up on you, right? For me, these are things that are important. I think these are things that, that can be shared with you guys, with you young men and women as well. Do they reciprocate, for example? So that one I think is very important. Are they there for you in times of need, right? It's one thing to always be around each other when things are happy, but sometimes you get happy through hardships when people are there for you. Like you could be having, for example, I could give you good memories of when I was back in university. Didn't do well in the midterm. It ruined my grade point average, up into that section of the quarter. My university had quarters going to the UC system. UC Riverside in the house, original 909 here. And I think what made that moment of university so epic was you could have like the shittiest day of your life and your friends would find out. They'd be like, hey, like, why are you so upset, Shake? Like, oh, I fucked up on my exam, man. It's just such this positive aura, of just young, hormones flying everywhere and just vibrant energy. And your friends would be like, fuck it, dude, don't worry about the exam. We got like quizzes, a paper, another midterm, and in a final, you'll be okay. How about, just go home, relax. How about we hit the gym tonight? We'll all eat dinner afterwards, and we'll go to that, KA party and have some fun, And you kind of miss that when you get older, You miss that. You miss having that vivaciousness of energy around you. I think the other important thing is also, what type of conversations you have with your friends. If it's very superficial stuff, I hate to say your friendship is going to be very superficial. You're not going to get into the archaeological layers of things that bind you closer to one another. And I believe a lot of people have a hard time being who they want to be around their friends because they're so afraid of being alone. And we live in a society where the polarity, the energy of people is being misguided. There's been massive campaigns for a lot of gender misinformation, unfortunately, things that go against science, the belittling of raising young men, being a man in society, the brainwashing that women can do everything that men can do, and vice versa, that men can do everything women can do. So it affects our polarity in society, right? When you think of polarity, you got to think of like a positive and negative, right? On a magnet. And these two attract each other. And I think because of the fact that these are being misaligned, it also scares people into developing who they should really become. And because of that, they're afraid to really express their feelings. They're afraid to really be honest with themselves and with their friends because they just want to fit in. And if you think about it, then they go and have relationships, romantic sexual relationships. And when you have the demasculization of men, for example, then, regardless of what an alpha woman will tell you, she wants an alpha man. And people then have more problems in relationships because now we're constantly being, told to walk on eggshells and not be upfront. And these are all the wrong approaches to friendships and relationships in life because you want to be truthfully honest and very radically transparent in your life with the people around you. It doesn't mean you have to be disrespectful, but you want to be able to release your thoughts and emotions in a civil manner because if you don't, then it gets clumped up inside of you and then boom, it explodes like Mount Vesuvius, and that's a shitstorm that no one likes dealing with. And most people today, doesn't matter what age group you are, teenager, young adult, older adult, right? Adult children, because there's a lot of those fucking roaming around. They're not equipped to handle emotions. We're a very reactionary society, unfortunately. And coming back to friendships, I think people are very afraid of being around people who want to be very honest and brutally honest. Not brutally honest, just very openly honest about their feelings, where if you fuck up as a person, they're going to call you out on it and be like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that, and being very transparent. And when you remove those elements out of your friendship, you get these very pseudo friendships that exist in society, just very superficial bullshit things. But as human beings, we yearn to dig like archaeologists and bring out the layers of who we are and our complex characters out of our souls so that we can bind with one another, so that you get that special feeling. If people even get those feelings of what they remember, like when they're like 13 or 14, you had this aha moment, maybe with somebody you fucking hated in school, but like, you know, you got stuck with them on a mountain climbing trip and you had to put your shit aside, otherwise one of you would fall and die, right? And then all of a sudden, as you're going up that mountain, you guys start talking, and layers of yourselves just get released. Kind of think of like you take layers of ice cream out of an ice cream box, right, or gelato box, and just, you know, one scoop after another, you just discover more and more complexity, and you go, damn, like this is a great feeling. And all of a sudden, you two are best friends, and people go, hey, didn't you guys hate each other like 3 days ago? You're like, yeah, well, we climbed a mountain and we learned a lot about each other, and we saw that the hate was stupid, and we actually have a lot in common. We have some things in common. Those some things are very core to who we are as human beings. So it's tough. It's tough having relationships here, because I could tell you, I've had people where, you know, they're like in our lives calling us not calling us every day, but like calling us very consistently, or just sending us very sweet messages, and then boom, fucking cold turkey. You don't know if they're dead or alive. You reach out to them, you don't hear anything, but they're liking your stories on Instagram, but they can't say hi. You know, I think it's very hard. I think for me personally, the things that are important are having that reciprocity. It is being present, you know. And I've seen a lot of people deal with this where, like, yeah, someone is so constant and then they just ghost you. And you reach out to me, hear nothing. So then you start thinking, oh, like, do they like me? Did I make them mad? And you reach out to me, still don't hear anything. And then they just tell you, like, they're busy. And you're like, well, what type of answer is that? You've been liking all my stuff. You can't send me an audio message? Like, that's way better than texting. Personally, I think audio messages are beautiful. People should do it more often. But it's very taxing, you know? Because when, at least we were young, we had these dreams of like, hey, we're going to try to make it in life and do well, and we want to have people around us, and we want to enjoy this journey with one another. We want to help each other succeed. And this may be a whole different episode, but we're going to talk about a little about success here. I think it's very hard, especially out here, to want to succeed in life and have people around, because it goes against the very intrinsic core of how human beings are being raised, especially out here in California. We're not being taught, and in American culture, because this happened, I think, you know, starting in 2008 during the Obama presidency. Unfortunately, it was probably one of the things that he did bad. It was he started creating this class war, which should never have existed in the first place. But if you think about, like, I'll give you a couple examples. Let's say you want to go and become an IFBB bikini model. Let's just say as a woman, okay? Your friends are going to ridicule you because they're probably a little bit fat. They eat shit, and they drink a lot of alcohol, and they smoke. Okay, they do all of it, or a combination of those. So when you're trying to go and become this like beautiful goddess, you know, Venetian Amazonian warrior that you want to become, they're going to make fun of you. Like, oh, this is so stupid. Why do you want to do this at the age of 40 or even the age of 20? This is dumb. Like, why do you want to train so hard? Like, you can go out every night and, you know, go out on every weekend, and you're not going to be able to do this. Well, think about it. They're trying to be the best version of themselves from a health and fitness standpoint, and they're being ridiculed. And now imagine you want to try to succeed financially. It's the same problem, because most people around you don't have that ambition, and very few people around you are going to support you to achieve your dreams and goals. They're not going to be happy for you to go and succeed. It's very counterproductive to how most animals thrive. For example, if you take a wolf pack, right? You're going to have your alpha male, your beta, your omega, okay, and down the chain. But the pack understands, like, we got to win. If we don't go hunt and win, we're all going to die. And for whatever reason with human beings, when one of us is trying to do extremely well and they're trying to make our lives better, the people around us, because of their own insecurities and their own jealousies and the things that they are weak at in life, they let those things manifest and take control of themselves. And because of the way that society, through TV shows and news and movies and programs and even the educational system, which has unfortunately gone a little bit backwards, instead of telling people you should be rooting for your friends to go and kick ass in life, they teach them to bring out the worst traits of a human being, which is to be jealous and envious and to ridicule them. And we're the only species where when we're trying to climb that top of that mountain, that our friends all of a sudden say, oh, that's stupid. Why do you want to go and, for example, I don't know, let's just say, for example, become the CEO of your company. Like, that's dumb. Like, why do you want to put in the hours? Why do you want to work so hard? Like, you'll never get there. That's something I've heard, like, you'll never get there. It's like, how the fuck do you know? How the fuck do you know I will never get there, right? And it's very disappointing when you see that, because it's counter, like I said, to the instinctive, right, feeling of how most animals operate, and we are an animal species. And this is why with success, I've said this many times to my wife and to some few people that I've mentored, there's a reason why the mountaintop is so lonely. The mountaintop, when you think of a mountain, right? Like just a very archaic idea of a mountain, right? It goes like this, right? You have the two hills on the sides, and you go up to the top. This top point, this zenith, doesn't hold a lot of people, because most of the fat, lazy, jealous motherfuckers that are around you, they're going to be down here towards the bottom. They don't have the grit and the will and the persistence to climb this, because this isn't going to be an easy climb. This is going to be a climb where you're going to go, you're going to fucking fall, you're going to go, you're going to fall all the way down, you're going to almost make it to the top, you're going to fall halfway down, right? It's a constant struggle, but when you get there, it's lonely because there's not a lot of space. That's why that's why achieving success and financial freedom and freedom of time and personal happiness is very lonely at the top. There's not a whole lot of room at the top of any fucking mountain you go into in any part of any galaxy and universe. They all look the damn same for a reason, because the same laws of nature apply universally across the universes. It's very lonely up there. There might be less than a handful of people, but if you can find those people, you will flourish. You see, when I was younger, like in the 80s, and I saw a young man come out of a Lamborghini Countach with two beautiful women, in my mind, I was like, I want to be that guy. I want to be that man. I want to have that success. But today, if you are like that person, most of the time people hate on you. And that's a lot of the brainwashing that's occurred, unfortunately. And if you think about friendships, if one of your friends is trying to do well financially, right? Think about it. He can uplift his whole fucking tribe, right? Out of misery and poverty and masturbation into a land of just excess, orgy, and success and beauty that one can only fathom to imagine. Like, that's the power of success. Right? The power of success is in your friends. If you root for them, they will uplift you too, because you may have a skill set that they actually see in you that you don't see. That will allow your buddy who's trying to climb that mountaintop to bring you all with them. And all of you can then do amazing things. But unfortunately, we're just not designed that way. And I can tell you, it's very difficult. And I think when it comes to friends, I think it's a shame that people, are just so reticent and they're not so involved. It doesn't mean you got to be a pokey bear, but it's like, hey, like, it's for example, it's a beautiful feeling when you're just working out and you get a call or text, hey, what are you doing tonight? Oh, I'm at the gym. Cool, like, I'm gonna go finish my run, or I'm gonna finish my weights. Like, what time are you gonna be done at the gym? Like, 8 o'clock. Hey, how about I stop by at 9 and just shoot the shit? Like, I'll just come by for an hour. It'd be good to see you. It doesn't have to happen every day, but those feelings are nice. And in my experience in other countries, like if you go to the Middle East, like if you go to, even right now, Iran, right, which is going through a lot of stuff because of the protests and the movements that are going on there. They all come out late at night, and they all come out, they hang out, they eat together, they bring their wives, their husbands, their kids. It's a very beautiful feeling. When I was in Italy, nothing was better than knowing like I can go out at night and I'll see my friends, we'll go eat food, eat a gelato, walk around town, and then just call it a night. Like, you feel really good, that there's a void in your heart that just gets filled. And I think that's what's missing out here, because People find excuses not to see one another, and it's very sad. And then you also get a subgroup of friends who, let's say, get into relationships and they fucking disappear. They don't call you, they don't do anything, but when shit hits the fan, guess who they're calling? Your number one friend, right? And you go, dude, where have you been for the last 3 years, 2 years? Oh, I just was in this bad relationship, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, I'm sorry, I can't really help you. Like, how many times can that happen? Because also what those people don't realize is that when you are in a relationship and you are absent in your friends' lives, the truth is you have no one to really discuss your relationship with. I'm not saying you got to talk to your relationship about everybody, but sometimes you need to have some believable people, some expert people who have successful relationships, preferably married, because that's really, I think, if you're married in today's day and age, that's a great achievement. Or you just have a very long-term relationship, depending on your age group. Those are people you really want to listen to. And, you don't have an outlet to just kind of sometimes vent, right? And get your things off of your chest, as we would say, and get a clear head and assess your relationship. But, what the friends who don't realize is the ones who go into relationships and cut everyone off is that their relationships will not prosper. Because when you abandon the people around you, you're going to do the same thing in a relationship from an emotional standpoint, from a sexual standpoint, from a building standpoint. Those people have the characteristics of they want to cater to everything to like their boyfriend or girlfriend without understanding what it is they truly want for themselves. And this goes back to being radically honest and transparent and truthful, because when you disappear from people's lives, right, you're not being honest and transparent and truthful. You've disappeared. And then you carry those same flaws into your relationship. And because you don't know how to articulate things well and you don't know how to be there for your own friends, you can't actually be there in a relationship. And that could be a whole separate conversation as well. But it comes back to your friendships, right? It can be very lonely. And the only remedy that I can provide, and if you're 13 years old and you're going through this, and you could be 35 years old going through this, or even 55. I hope at 55 you figured it out. But if you haven't, the only words of wisdom I can give you through all my travels in life, where I have very concrete friends, and where I live in, where I've been born and raised in America, and where the friendships have been not very substantial, is try to find your lone black wolf from Yosemite. It's very hard, but all you need is one, maybe two. And more importantly, do things that make you happy. Don't wait on people. If you want to go to the beach and they don't want to come with you, go to the fucking beach. If you want to go to the gym and they don't want to come with you, go to the fucking gym. Guess what? You're going to meet some gym buddies. Nothing wrong with having a gym buddy. Sometimes some of your best buddies are just gym buddies. People you see at the gym all the time. You want to go to that, I don't know. You want to go to Iceland and no one wants to go with you, go to Iceland. Just do it. My whole point is you want to read a book? Read a book. My whole point is do things that make you happy. Because if you don't, you're going to have a life full of regrets, with or without people in your life. Go and experience it. And I know it can sometimes be lonely, but you know what? It's better than doing nothing. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this wonderful episode, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see all of you soon. Thank you.
You